And welcome into the Gaming Discourse. I am Tyler Frater alongside Richard A. the Cruz.
Good morning.
And Chief Engineer Lieutenant Commander Connor Frater.
Yes.
It is September 20th, 2021. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at The Gaming Discourse. Go to our YouTube channel, YouTube/Gaming Discourse. We post videos. I just posted our newest video about The Thing from 2002. Sort of a...
Is a prequel.
Review. No,
Wait, that's the movie.
That's the 2011 movie.
Sorry, 2011
That's
movie.
a prequel. Yeah.
Which the 2011 movie.
They think it's a remake, but it's a prequel.
Prequel.
It's it is a remake in the sense that it's the same exact movie. It's just
okay.
It happens to people before. It happens to
the same exact thing can happen to the same group of people.
Well, no, I'm just saying it's like a spiritual. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The Thing is a really interesting franchise because the game is actually really cool and really has a lot of interesting concepts. Mm-hmm. You have squad mates with you, AI squad mates, and they can turn into the Thing at any time. So it's pretty cool because you're never really sure if you're going to be like ambushed. It's not a perfect game, and it wasn't a perfect game back then. But and I talk all about this in the video. But even today, there are concepts in that game that I think would a 1,000,000,000% make a good video game today. And that's sort of the thing that the Resident Evil 2 remakes. And I think the Dead Space remake is going to prove this too, is that games, I feel like, age worse but also better than other mediums, than other media, right? Because if you were to remake, I don't know, some random movie, if you were to remake Gone with the Wind.
I was thinking that movie.
First of all, you'd have to
there'd be a lot of stuff you'd have to address before that.
You'd have to figure out how to get rid of the racism and whatnot. But the filmmaking techniques, audio recording, all that stuff, right? So there are things that if you tried to replicate, it wouldn't work, right? The way people talk. Right, people talk differently than they did in the 1930s or whenever that movie was made, as opposed to video games where it's like a lot of the structure of the Resident Evil 2 remake was the structure back then, right? But there's just certain things updated. So anyway, when you play an older video game, and you see the success that companies have had with remaking older titles, and then you play a game like The Thing, it's like this is a title that's just waiting to be. And people would just lose their minds over it because it's like a super popular movie and everything. Anyway, so I made that video. Go check it out. I really enjoyed the game. Were you going to say something?
I don't think The Thing is that popular of a movie.
Oh, I think it is.
I would use the phrase cult classic. I do think it's popular, but
I think it's more cult classic than.
I don't think it's cult classic at all.
Well, what's it like being wrong?
Okay, so it's John Carpenter's
The Thing.
It's his movie after Halloween, right?
Yeah.
So no, I don't think
Halloween?
I think when you talk about,
I know more people that haven't seen The Thing that have seen The Thing.
I think you only know like 10 people though, so I'm kidding.
Okay, then 90% of people haven't seen The Thing. We're gonna use your stupid statistics.
If we talk about movies from the 80s,
Yeah.
The Thing is right up there with like the 5 best movies of that era, I think. I'm not going to sit here and make a list off the top of my head.
There's a lot of good movies.
There's a lot of good 80 movies there, but I mean, I'd say The Thing is just as good as Aliens. Like, I don't know if I like.
I don't disagree with that. Absolutely.
I'm not saying it's not a good movie. I'm just saying I don't think it's that popular of a movie.
I would classify it as a cult classic, because cult classic is a synonym or a euphemism for it sucks, but there are people that like it. I'm kidding. That's more
not
cynical.
at all. Wow. Fuck you, Tyler.
I'm joking.
I think if they did remake The Thing today, it would be immensely popular, and it's mostly due to streaming now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and you need streamers.
And
stuff,
the thing about The Thing is the practical effects. Like that's what you'd have to do. And John Carpenter has even said CGI is a tool, but it's a tool like everything else.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know why we're talking about this.
Because it's a topic. It's a topic to talk about.
Because we were just talking about The Thing, and we continue to talk about The Thing.
Appreciating
it's
The
a
Thing.
video game show.
Yeah.
Anyway, so go check out the video. I think it turned out pretty good. And go watch The Thing if you haven't seen it.
Yes.
Highly recommended. The best movie ever made.
I don't know about that.
John Carpenter's best movie.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Solid maybe.
Solid maybe. Okay.
Vampires.
Do they exist?
They're everywhere.
Connor, why don't you start off with what you've been playing?
I've been continuing my second and half, third playthrough. I don't remember my numbered playthrough of
when all you do is rob people. It's sort of
Red Dead Redemption 2.
Sort of melds together.
And I totally had an almost, ugly cry moment when I took Jack on the fishing trip because I was like, this is so wholesome. But it's such a good game. Fuck. It's so good.
Yeah.
I hate how much I like the game, but I love how much I like the game. Because I'll get invested and then I'm going to get super sad at the end of the game because I know exactly what's going to happen. But it's fun. And I picked up and started playing Atom RPG, which is a isometric RPG set in a post-apocalyptic Russia.
Interesting.
Cool.
Okay.
Kind of like a less retro sci-fi Fallout. Because Fallout has like the 50s aesthetic, retro sci-fi.
Yeah.
This one, like, shit went down in the 90s.
Okay.
And so it's more contemporary technology. Like, you don't have like the
retro futuristic.
Well, no, it's
that would be Fallout.
That's Fallout.
Oh, okay.
This one is just modern. Well, not modern, but 90s tech, post-apocalyptic. So you have 90s cars, like everything is just the 90s, but just into the world.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Did it release this year?
No, it was a couple years ago.
Oh, okay.
They released DLC for the second game. A few weeks ago, and I was like, oh, I kind of want to play the first one now, so I can just have a basic understanding, even though they're two different stories. I just kind of want to have like a overarching understanding of the genre. Well, not the genre, but the franchise. But it's like an old Fallout game, even with New Vegas, where you have like the different you have your not factions. You have your special in Fallout, and this one I forget what it's called, but you have your abilities which affect skills, and you can buy into like better skills, and then there's traits you have that affect your skills. And so it's just very classic RPG and very, very interesting. It's light on storytelling initially. And kind of just throws you into it. But I'll get back with more once I play it more.
Okay, but early, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay.
But as Fallout, or as the similarities Fallout would go, obviously there are speech trees. The action is not as much as it's not
turn-based action point combat. Yeah,
like that. I'm thinking about New Vegas here, and I'm like the entire time you're thinking of that, I'm like maybe I should give New Vegas another shot because still haven't really got that game.
Well, with your new PC, it'd probably run
semi-decent.
Well, I mean, it ran fine on my old PC.
Yeah. Well, now it runs great.
Yeah, now it runs great.
Your computer might be too good for it now.
Oh no,
yeah, that might be true.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah.
We'll see. Yeah, I don't know. I have the urge to play it now, but there's too many things to play. There's too many things.
There is a lot.
But I have not been playing much besides a little more Tales of Arise.
Okay.
Because I was sick this whole last week. But when I did get to play it, I still am having so much fun with particularly the battle system and its action routes that they've kind of like switched it up to. And there are some really awesome effects that they have. And I love when they can create ideas that really fuse multiple characters to perform different actions at once.
Mm-hmm.
And when you attack enemies, there are some that can perform magical abilities, and they'll have a ring meter that fills up, and fills up all the way. That means they get to perform their action. But you have a character, her name is Rinwell, and she's a mage, and you can, at any point in time, if her character portrait is lit up in the corner, they're assigned to the D-pad. You can hit it, and she'll pop in, and she'll perform an action that basically negates anything that they're doing. So if they are in the middle of trying to cast a spell, she'll completely negate it. Okay. And then stop it. And then it does what they call a break. And of course they get staggered, which you can continue your combo and whatnot. But when you do break, you usually get the ability to do something called the strike, which once again, if the strike activates and you press one of the D-pads pertaining to the character, 2 random characters will come in and perform some sort of super move. And Rinwell has some of my favorites because as a mage, she throws up very large sigils in midair. Mm-hmm. And depending on who partners with her, they'll do other things. There's a guy who's a martial artist, and he dives through the sigil and it covers him. And he turns into lightning, and he kind of strikes them. Cool. And then one of my other favorite things is Shion. She's a rifleman. She'll throw up the sigil and she'll shoot through the sigil, and they'll create a whole crazy thing. And then, there's I just got a new girl. Her name is Kisara, but she's a guardsman, so she has a huge shield and a mace, and she jumps up and kind of throws her mace like a hammer, and Rinwell just coats her mace in a huge ice hammer. And she just slams it down on the ground on the enemies.
I love it.
So yeah, they're really fast, but when you're creating combos as fast as you are, you can just keep going, strike, hit that button, they do their move, and it's really helpful with particularly strong enemies. But it's so flashy and fun to look at. I can't stop thinking about it. So, but I think I'm about 20 hours into the game. I believe average playthroughs are about 30 to 40. So, see if I beat it this upcoming week.
Half-ish way there.
Yeah. And that's not to say if I'll dabble a little more in it after I beat the game or whatnot. Okay. But once again, there's lots of stuff to play, so I might move on. We'll see.
There is a lot. So I finally defeated the Valkyrie Queen in God of War.
Hell yeah, man.
Yay. So I want to do...
Congrats.
I want to do a New Game Plus playthrough of God of War before Ragnarok comes out. So I don't know when I'm going to do that, but I wanted to defeat the Valkyrie Queen because that was the last major thing to do in the game. Mm-hmm. And that boss fight is hard as hell.
Yes, it is.
And it took me a lot of tries, and I tried a lot of different strategies, and I must have died. I'm not exaggerating. I must have failed at least, I'm not exaggerating, 50 times.
Yeah.
Probably more.
Yes.
Because it's just, you spawn right outside. If you die and you hit restart checkpoint, it's right next to where the battle starts.
Right,
so
right
you can
in the corridor.
You take a few steps, hit X, and you're right back into the fight again. And I hadn't played God of War in a long time. Hopped back into it, learned all the move sets again and Kratos' different abilities, and I was like, okay, I understand the combat now, so I can go fight her, not be totally worthless. And then I got to the point where I was getting her health down to, slivers. And it was always she and I both slivers of health, and then she would get an attack in, and that would be it. And so I had to figure out, I was like, okay, I have to figure out something where I can do just a little bit more damage. So I had totally forgotten that the armor I was wearing was the armor for Niflheim, I think. The Mist.
Ice?
Mist realm?
The with the maze.
Yeah, with the mazes.
Yeah.
That's the one that's procedurally generated.
The challenge, yeah.
Yeah, and that armor is good for that realm, and it's good in general, but the Valkyrie armor... for the Valkyrie fights, for the one this situation specifically was a little bit better. So I was like, oh shoot. So I switched to that. I switched her, the runic attacks that Kratos has. He has, with his weapons, he has the special attacks, and they have, some of them are short range, long range, and different, and some of them you can do multiple times, some of them you just do it once. She's really annoying because she's really fast, and she hovers, and so she can avoid a lot of your runic attacks pretty easily. So you have to have runic attacks that are easy to aim and easy to hit, or you have to pin her in a corner and do a bunch of runic attacks. So anyway, long story short, I went through the character, equipped all kinds of new armor, went through all the runic attacks that I hadn't been using, picked new runic attacks, and I swapped out. You have an X ability, so your runic is L1, at least for me, because I don't know what control scheme I'm playing with, but it's L1 plus triangle, square, or X, I think. And X is like a special ability that's tied to Kratos, not to a weapon.
Okay.
And so the one I had was a little circle he plants on the ground that heals him. And I was like, oh, this will be useful during the fight because I can heal myself. But she attacks you so ferociously that you have
Just
to keep
no
moving.
time. Yeah.
So I had to figure out a different thing to do. And I found I forget what it's called, but it summons a storm around Kratos, like an ice circle, and anything in that takes damage. So now every time I'm near her, this is activated, I was doing damage. So after dying to her like 50 times and her being a sliver away from death, I went, changed a bunch of stuff out, and actually dropped my level. I got up to level 9, dropped me to level 8, which I thought was weird. Went back to the fight, and I defeated her. And it was actually quite simple. First time.
Yeah, of course.
Once I changed
like
all this gear and like changed out the runic abilities.
Gotta have the right skill set.
And she has one attack that does a ton of damage where she grabs Kratos, tosses him on the ground, and then like curb stomps him a couple times. You have to mash X to get out of it. You take that attack away from her, her fight's super easy because everything else is relatively easy to dodge. But that one attack is so freaking difficult to dodge because she disappears into the sky and you may not even see it because she just jumps. And then all of a sudden she'll just land on top of you.
Because she does different moves where she jumps and she kind of like hangs there to like come back at you.
She'll jump and then like fly toward you, which is a different one. But what makes this one different is she'll just disappear. So you'll like swing and miss her, and then you'll turn around and she's not there. And before you realize, she just lands on top of you. And you're like, oh, well, there goes a third of my health. But if you can learn to dodge that and kill her before she gets to do it a whole bunch of times. Anyway.
So the plan is, if you miss, just start rolling away.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Dark Souls, it just tumble everywhere.
Of all of PlayStation's exclusives this generation, like Horizon Zero Dawn, great. Uncharted 4, great. Last of Us 2, great. Ghost of Tsushima, great. God of War, something else. God of War.
God of War might actually be a game that I call perfect.
It's
really,
like, it is hard to.
Sorry. Well, yeah, no, a game that I would call perfect.
Okay.
It's
absolutely not a perfect.
No, I mean, no game is.
But I mean, for me, it gave me everything that I needed.
It's hard to over exaggerate just how good it is. How unique the combat. Like, I think the combat's really unique. With all the different abilities you have. You have the buddy system with he and Atreus, the story, the tone of the entire game. You have the lore, the Nordic lore. And they've set themselves up for something that's going to be awesome with Ragnarok.
Don't get too excited.
Why is that?
You set yourself up for disappointment.
Well, if I'm disappointed, life goes on.
Good way to look at it.
But yeah, so I mean, God of War is something else. Like, all the PlayStation exclusives this generation were great, but God of War, I think, by far and away was the best. And if we're trying to have a serious discussion about like greatest games of all time or whatever, like, I don't blink an eye if someone were to say God of War 2018. Like, not even, doesn't make me hesitate at all. Other than that, though, I think that's pretty much all I've been playing. A little bit more of Cyberpunk. I have Cyberpunk on hard difficulty, which makes it a little bit more challenging and fun, I think. And it's still not finished. Jackie still walks right through cars.
That is...
And there are a lot of things about Cyberpunk that... Okay, so for example, just today, I launched it and I just did a quick, street, went to one of the things on the street you could do, like stop crime or whatever.
Okay.
And I called my car, and first of all, your car will run you over.
Yes, it will.
So, which doesn't make sense. And the other thing is, like, if
autonomous, isn't it?
Well, I mean, we're smart enough to summon a car, but not smart enough to have it stopped. It doesn't matter.
Smart enough to make a game that works.
But the other thing is, like, there are a lot of open world games with cars, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I have never run into a game that has so much trouble not hitting the player with cars. Does that make sense? If I park on the street and then get out of my car, it's like a 50-50 chance that some other car will hit me as I'm getting out of my car because they don't stop or anything like that, right?
They never stop.
I mean,
and I don't think that's supposed to be appropriate thematically or anything. I think it's just a weird oversight.
See people complaining about that in Grand Theft Auto.
But does that happen a lot in Grand Theft Auto, where you get out of your car and just get hit by another car that just doesn't stop?
Yeah, of course.
See,
Well, I mean, the car will stop.
I just don't.
That's the thing, though. They don't stop ever, even after hitting you. I have a video where I jumped over a wall and I got hit by a car, and I stand up on the car while it's driving.
Oh yes, all right. Yeah,
I don't.
And the driver's just.
I'm trying to acknowledge that open world games are tough because you have all these things going on, but Cyberpunk just has these weird things about it that I don't remember encountering in other games. I guess that's all I'm trying to say. Mm-hmm. Anyway, we'll move on to news now. As soon as I find the ad.
We want to give a massive shout out to the sponsors of this episode. They have been silently supporting us since the very beginning, and we felt it was time to give them some love. The like and share buttons have been at our side since episode 1 of the podcast. They can be found just beneath this episode. Please give them a click, it helps us greatly. If you're feeling lucky, click the bell icon to enter for a notification anytime we post new content. You may be surprised by what you get.
Diablo 2 Resurrected's director spoke about people's hesitation with buying the game. Some background here.
It's because they just don't have phones.
California's Department of Fair and Equal Housing filed a lawsuit against Activision Blizzard for cultivating a frat house type mentality. Things spiraled from there. That 2-sentence summary does not do the entire thing justice. In an interview with Axios, director Rob Gallerani was asked about the misconduct allegations and said, quote, it was definitely very troubling to hear these types of things, and we really wanted to support our colleagues and our coworkers. We heard a lot of really positive things, but I don't think that we ever get a pass on that. We always need to keep asking, end quote. On whether people should buy the game, Gallinari said that people should do what they think is right. And a quick note, because this happened today. There it is. As first reported by the Wall Street Journal, the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, has launched an investigation into Activision Blizzard and how the company handled allegations of sexual harassment and has subpoenaed Bobby Kotick as well as other executives. According to the Wall Street Journal, the investigation is less about the allegations themselves and more about whether or not Activision Blizzard was adequately transparent with investors. And another note that I passed by, Diablo 2 Resurrected is being developed by Vicarious Visions, which just recently joined Activision Blizzard and thus far has not been implicated in any of the allegations of harassment, abuse, whatever, etc. So yes. So there's a couple different things here with the Securities and Exchange Commission thing. I don't know.
It's too early. It just hit today.
But I think this is an interesting question that a lot of people are grappling with. Richard, I know you in the past have said that you're sort of done with.
When the news hit, I said that, for sure. And I still stick with it. I don't have any plans to buy any Activision game, Activision Blizzard game in the near future. And, you know, it's tough when I said that because I did state, I believe, something along the lines of, you know, if they change or if they show some sort of improvement. But we're not going to get a very obvious like announcement like, hey guys, this is what we're doing. It's just going to be the standard, like, oh yeah, we're taking steps to fix things. You know, we're not going to get exactly a clear answer of what they're going to do for these employees, unless at some point in the next half year they just happen to unionize. Then that would be like, okay, sure, you know, now you guys are screwed. Well, not the workers, the companies. But yeah, no, I definitely did say that a couple weeks back.
Yeah, and it's tough to, and you know, who knows, like at Ubisoft, who knows what the average employee is thinking every day at Ubisoft, and what else is going on there, if anything else is going on there, how much it's changed. So those things, like figuring out the line between when a company has changed or when a company, whatever, I think is really difficult. And right now it's still in, I want to say cleanup mode, but I don't necessarily think that's true. To me, it's not in like it's happened, it's over. It's still ongoing to me. Everything, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Especially with this Security and Exchange Commission thing. So, yeah, I don't now whether or not I don't know. I honestly have no idea personally what like buying. I have no idea. Because there's so many layers to this thing, especially if this is like Vicarious Visions, specifically Diablo 2 Resurrected, right? Which sucks for them because they're a company that, you know, is like they walk in and it's like that Donald Glover or Danny Glover scene where he walks in with a pizza
and Activision Blizzard's all on
fire and people are twirling, you know, towels or whatever. So yeah, I don't know. But I understand your hesitation completely. So yeah, I don't. And I think that is the quickest. But the thing that sucks is like that's the quickest way to get at higher level executives and to make people worried like that, right? But the problem is I don't know if so many people decided not to buy. And I'm not saying you're wrong or anyone is wrong for thinking this way. But if a lot of people did boycott or decided not to buy a game for some reason. Maybe it's super cynical of me, but I just feel like the first people that would be hurt are people that they could get rid of. You know, I don't think they would, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe if enough people did that, investors, boards, whatever would sit Kotick down one day and go, hey, we can't repair this. We need to make a change.
It depends on how much the company is affected by the boycott. Because if it's something that like they can't get rid of Bobby Kotick yet because of, you know, reasons, and they're making a loss, then yeah, they're going to start trimming down at the bottom. They're going to start getting payroll lighter. So there is, you know, consequences to the people that were affected by this, by boycotting, but at the same time, there's consequences to the people that perpetrated this by doing boycotting. So you just got to keep an eye on it and try to balance.
I don't think there's an easy answer.
No, there isn't. No. There absolutely is not.
And that's another reason why I don't have any problems with anybody's personal choice whether or not they want to buy a game from Activision Blizzard or buy a game from Ubisoft, because I just don't think there's a correct way to do this.
Too many layers to it.
And you know the workers at Activision Blizzard would love if a bunch of executives got, you know, fired or something like that. So, but the thing that, you know, the other thing that pops into my mind is that statement when Activision Blizzard had the walkout and somebody said, we love our jobs, but they don't love us back. Right? That just sucks because that's what you want, right? You want people making games that want to be making games as opposed to people that are just there to churn out some microtransaction machine. But anyway, go ahead.
I think we are closer and closer to Bobby Kotick leaving Activision Blizzard or being forced out. There is a lot of heat on him right now, and if not like by the company in large, it can start affecting their investors' bottom line, and they're gonna, the investors aren't gonna like, well, employee artist number 347, he's the one that needs to go. No, they're gonna be like, no, Bobby Kotick is the one calling the shots. He's the one that's been, letting this flounder. Put someone else in charge that will fix it for the investors.
Yeah, and I guess I don't know what Bobby Kotick does on a regular basis, but I do wonder how difficult it is to be the CEO of Activision Blizzard. Like, are you guys making Call of Duty? Okay. Is there going to be microtransactions in it? Okay, just making sure. All right, I'm going to go to bed for 24 hours. You wake up. You guys working on Call of Duty? Okay. Okay, I'm going to go on a ski trip in the Alps for the next 6 weeks. Come back. Hey, you guys
working on Call of Duty?
You guys working on Call of Duty? Microtransactions? Okay. How's Kingdom Crush doing? Oh, we've got one developer working on it.
Spoiler alert, it's doing great.
Yeah, it's doing amazing. Oh, okay. My job is so difficult. Give me $600 trillion, please. Listen, I understand CEOs probably do a bunch of work. I have no idea.
Yeah, they also push pencils.
It's a little like if I were the coach of the Lakers, we'd win because we have LeBron James. And no matter how horrible I am as a coach, LeBron James could put the team on his back and we'd win a few games here and there. So if I were the CEO of Activision Blizzard, may not be doing as good, but probably do just fine.
But you tell them to work on Call of Duty and you make some money.
The point I'm trying to make is if they got rid of Kotick as a symbolic gesture,
yeah,
and just replaced him with some other
that's the
guy.
thing though. That's the thing though. Kotick is replaceable. They can put.
I don't necessarily know if that's true or not. Like, part of me thinks, how difficult is it to be CEO? Another part of me thinks, I don't know. So
the third part of me thinks that Bobby Kotick is not Call of Duty.
That. Also, there's probably there's probably half a dozen people working at Activision Blizzard right now at high-level executive jobs that could step in for Bobby Kotick that weren't involved in any of it, that the investors might be looking at right now, because this and this just goes down to, at that high level of a business, it's always the bottom line. And everything that's been going on at Activision Blizzard, Bobby Kotick getting subpoenaed by the SEC, that is going to start affecting the investors more and more as time goes on.
Sure. Okay.
And so it's only a matter of time before he, steps down as CEO.
But only if there's sufficient enough pressure. And if there's not sufficient enough pressure, then it doesn't matter. And
with the SEC coming in, that pressure's starting to mount. And because then the government's getting involved.
Okay, well, I don't want to speculate too much, but I'm done. Okay. I think I'm fine with it. Let's just all agree, Activision Blizzard, horrible company.
Absolutely.
They tripped out of the gate with this in about the worst way possible.
Not only that, they just flat out lied.
Yeah, that was bad. It was like you had a couple different, like J. Allen Brack, I'm sorry, everybody, I'm sorry. And then what's her face was like, hey, fuck these allegations. And like two completely different messages.
Anger translator.
Yeah, it's just like, whoa, man. It's like, these are shot out of a cannon. Completely different directions there. Anyway, okay, we're moving on. EA is adding previews to its loot boxes. So in addition to normal loot boxes, FIFA 22 will have preview packs, which allow you to see what is in a loot box before buying it. So there are still normal loot boxes, but then there are loot boxes with previews that show you what's in the loot box.
And they're software premium because you get to sneak peek on what's inside
before you buy them. The gold and silver packs will have previews, and they refresh on a 24-hour refresh timer. So you can see what's in them, buy them, or you can get the normal one where you don't see. Reading from Eurogamer's Wesley Yen Poole, quote, "The change came amid increasing pressure from governments about the link between video game loot boxes and gambling. EA's FIFA series is part of an ongoing investigation is part of ongoing investigations into the impact of loot boxes, particularly on children, with many groups calling for a change in legislation to categorize loot boxes such as Ultimate Team packs as gambling. It was clear EA was testing the waters with these changes in FIFA 21 in response to the scrutiny, and now we know they will carry forward into FIFA 22. So
This is a very small speed bump.
what do you mean?
I don't. I mean, this isn't going to do anything.
You don't think this will dissuade people from
Buying more loot? No, because these loot boxes that are like going to be preview packs aren't going to have things in there that people actually want.
You think so?
I think so.
Or it's going to be very rare that they do.
Well,
Right. It'll be like once a month there will actually be something in there that will be good. But I think that it's just a ruse to appease the rules.
Yeah, it's not gambling. They know what they're buying.
I don't understand why they are so desperate to cling to loot boxes. Because microtransactions make money.
But Tyler,
and there's other
it's not about the
skeevy-
money.
Yeah, I know.
It's about a shitload of money.
I understand this.
We're doing it for a shitload of money.
But there's a shitload of money in microtransactions.
But there's a
aren't-
shitload more they can have.
I
And
guess-
that's the thing. They're not content with the shitload of money they have. They want the shitload and the next shitload and the shitload after that. They just want all of it pouring out on them.
That's an Archer phrasing.
Thank you. But yeah, this is just a way to try to, get some of the pressure off of loot boxes. It's not gambling. They know what they're buying. They can preview it, or they can, get these mystery packs. Ha ha ha. We're so clever.
Yeah, surprise mechanics.
Yeah. EA sucks.
Yeah, and I guess if you're trying to prove that, if you're trying to argue that loot boxes aren't gambling, I don't understand how this does that. Because if you own a casino and on one side of the hall is, whatever.
Well, let's just take a very quick example. Slot machines. They show you how much they can pay out.
But on the other end is slot machines with more transparency. You're still a casino.
Yes, yeah,
and it's still gambling.
100%. But it does I can't. I'm not a gambler.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hold on. Let's back up. When I have bought loot boxes before.
Yeah.
You get loot boxes on Overwatch for free.
Sure.
The whole thing. Let's go back to casinos.
All right.
If I had a line of slot machines, that every slot machine would tell me how much I'd win, I wouldn't want to play it. Because the enjoyment is like
the rush
hitting that. What is it? What am I going to get?
That's an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
Right. Like the enjoyment is wondering what you're going to get and if you're going to get it. And that's something that's very attractive with something like any cell phone game or like Genshin Impact, is that you get that animation of here's 10 stars flying down. One of them is gold. Oh shit, I'm getting something. What am I going to get? And then you get the surprise that whatever is happening. So,
and that's where the whole gambling addiction and predatory.
Yes, it's
that's where that all comes in.
The
Loot boxes are 100%.
right. And that's it. And it's the same idea behind when you play Call of Duty and you get 5 kills in a row and it's 16 badges pop up and guitar riffs and everything. It's that
Metallica is just give it back. You just got to Sergeant Major.
It's that rush of serotonin.
See, I'm the opposite way though. So,
that's why you don't. That's why you're
I'm
not
physically responsible.
You, sir, are the 1%.
I'm physically conservative.
fiscally.
Yes. Physically, no, I'm physically conservative. All right. Moving on.
Stupid.
Moving on. And this next story is serious, so we gotta.
Sorry.
Jennifer Schwelea. believe I pronounced that correctly
I
because
said this was serious.
it is serious, has stepped down as the chair of the IGDA Women in Games Special Interest Group following abuse allegations. This after email complaints from 2018, 2019, and 2020 were posted on Twitter. Prior to her stepping down, the IDGA posted a statement saying, quote, "It has come to our attention that there have been public concern about the IGDA's internal investigation process. The IGDA investigates all complaints in compliance with their IGDA policy for responding to harassment complaints. But given the public nature of these allegations, we confirm that a complaint was received and a formal investigation was launched. After thorough investigation, the submitter of the complaint was informed there was not compelling evidence of wrongdoing." The decision from the IDGA's ethics team was unanimous, but there are a ton of complaints on Twitter about the investigation. Blackbird Interactive, which is where Shwarlea works, she's the lead designer there, and they released their own statement. Quote, "Blackbird takes harassment very seriously, and we will take action to protect members of our team from inappropriate behavior in all forms. We are investigating whether events like the ones discussed on Twitter in the last week have occurred at Blackbird in any capacity by anyone. We are enlisting the aid of third-party services to enable anonymous reporting and investigative processes that are thorough and free of any corporate bias," end quote. Right, so when I found this story, I didn't know whether to include it today because there's a lot going on and it goes back a while, and I didn't want to the problem with stuff that happens that goes down on Twitter, right, is you will see a statement and then the most liked reply is something that brings up problems with the statement, right?
Yes.
But that response on Twitter cites things that aren't in that thread. So you have to follow. That's why Twitter is not good for any of this.
No.
Twitter has made the human race worse because it does not handle complex information in a nuanced or orderly fashion.
Context is lost.
So it makes things super difficult to follow along on, right? So when I saw the story, the
IGDA.
Thank you. The IGDA. It's not a thing we talk about a whole bunch, but we have in the past. And it's not a union, but it's one of the closest things to a union, I think, around. So I think that's important too. But I didn't want to skimp on this story because I think it's important that people know what's going on. But at the same time, it's really difficult to know what's going on because so much of it is done on Twitter. And that's what makes, I think, I'm not envious of anybody who's trying to write a story about this because a lot of it is following stuff that's going on Twitter. Mm-hmm. And it's really, and then you have sort of real visceral reactions to this, right? From certain crowds that I'm not even going to reference here. And so you're not even sure, who is a reputable person that's responding, or is this just a person who is essentially a YouTube commenter that created a Twitter account, right? So that's what I wanted to cover here. But I thought it was important just to state what was happening. Do you guys have anything you want to say about this at all?
I don't, unfortunately. This, I read through the story, and of course we reviewed it again, but I find it a bit hard to follow because it's just kind of, it's something I'm just very unfamiliar with.
Yeah.
And I guess that's where I'll stop. I was going to try to say more, but there's really nothing I can say because, yeah, like I said, I'm a bit ignorant towards this situation. And IGDA is for Women in Games Special Interest Group. Okay, yeah. It's unfortunate, especially since it sounds like she had received a lot of accolades. And
well, that's what makes this complicated.
Yeah,
is you have an organization, an important one, that says unanimously nothing happened, but you have a lot of people saying that's bullshit, right? But the problem is a lot of people saying that it's bullshit is on Twitter. That doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong, but it does mean it's very difficult to figure out where they're getting their information from.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
So that's why I sort of, here's what's happening, and just drop it from there. And I guess I'm just erring, if it sounds like I'm hesitant or overly concerned about something, it's because a lot of times when we sit down and we talk about what stories do we want to include, sometimes we'll just skip on a story because it's like, what, we don't have anything to add to this. There's other things that we want to talk about, but I also don't want to demean a situation or pass by something if we can at least state what's going on, right? Anyway, let's talk that's like meta talk about the podcast, not the actual podcast. We ready for tidbits?
Yeah.
A man discusses the news, but not like the big news, the little news. Little bit. This is the tidbits.
I only got one tidbit today, but it's a very exciting one for me personally. You guys probably heard about this.
Just kidding.
All right.
Castlevania. Blah, blah, blah.
No, all right.
Oh, some random JRPGs coming to the United States. Oh boy.
Holy shit, Tyler.
Really? It wasn't that difficult.
No.
Oh, okay.
Just stab the man.
You're right. No, for sure. The Hidden Palace is a community that started in 2006 that is dedicated to the preservation of video game development material and other samples of gaming history throughout all of the years of gaming. And just recently, this week, they released a massive file dump of prototypes and early builds of tons of video games. The dump included 349 original Xbox prototypes and 135 Sega Dreamcast prototypes. Prototypes would be early builds of games that had different things in them, incomplete games, lots of different things. Some of the stuff found included unreleased Xbox ports of like American Idol, Hail to the Chimp, which came out on 360 but not on original Xbox, the Red Star, which did come out on PS2 but not on Xbox, and a mostly localized game that obviously did not come out here, but it was a Japanese game that was fully localized. It was just never released, called Dinosaur Hunting Ushina Wareta Daiichi. Anyways, also found inside was a prototype of Sega GT for the Dreamcast, which included a hidden race where Luigi from Mario was the flag waver. So it's pretty cool. They're finding some more and more stuff, like Toe Jam and Earl 3. Apparently, originally its final boss was a Ku Klux Klan floating head that you had to defeat, because it was about saving funk. It was awesome.
Naturally.
Naturally. But yeah, I mean, this is a lot of stuff to go through, and I suspect that we will find some really cool things as the days go on. I don't know if I'll report on that or not, but that is it for the tidbits.
I actually saw this.
Yeah.
So, and I know Frank Cifaldi tweeted about it.
Yes.
And a lot of other people. And that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad. Wouldn't it be awesome one day to have... So where do you, if you wanted to, are these things available to the public?
Yeah. I mean, you'll have to have specialized. Not too specialized. Like you can run it on your PC. Like you could get like a Xbox.
Are they essentially emulating?
Yeah, they're just emulating. Yeah. So these are the actual like collectors would find old developers from those days, and these developers would take home their work with them, and they'll have the files just on like discs or whatever, and so these guys will just upload them to wherever, Internet Archives or hiddenpalace.org, or sometimes they will be burned. Like, for instance, some of the Dreamcast games were on a GD-ROM, which was a modified CD-ROM.
Gaming Discourse ROM.
Yeah. instead of 700 megabytes, which is normally what a CD is, it was like 900 megabytes. Okay. It was like just slightly more. So you would have to have a development kit Dreamcast in order to actually read it, to rip it to the computer, because Dreamcast, a retail unit can only read the disc to play it. But if you had a development kit, you could actually hook it up to your computer and then read it that way.
Okay.
So, but since they've already done all the heavy work, now everyone who is savvy enough can just, load up an emulator, grab the file, and throw it on and see what's what.
So I'm going to do a super podcasty thing. Let me ask you this.
I will do my best to answer.
So, because you're someone who's super into gaming, game collecting, game history, right? We're gonna have Frank Cifaldi on the show next week. Not really, but one day, sure.
One can hope.
And so you know about like the marketplace. You brought us that story about the guy who came into the store who
Video game timeshares.
I
Video
try,
game
yeah.
timeshares.
Which I should have put that in the tidbits, but anyways, I try.
But this is like the opposite of that, where these are people that are just tossing video game history out to the public.
This is a video game commune.
as opposed to like
Yeah.
making a profit off that. I don't really know what my question is besides do you find that interesting? Do you wish this sort of thing happened more often?
I do wish it happened more often. Because look, these games, a lot of these games are already released, or they'll just never be released in their current state. Like it's very obvious. What's the use in kind of throwing away something? Yeah, right. What's the point in throwing away something that someone is never gonna see or appreciate? If that makes sense. Nintendo's the biggest culprit of this, and is that they
makes sense.
They are extremely protective of the stuff that they own, but it's more or less because of the like, we might use this again one day, even though they're never going to.
They're hoarders.
Right. And so that's something that when the huge Nintendo leak happened last year, we found all of this stuff from Super Nintendo era of like things that they could have put in Mario World or characters they had, or early builds of what Yoshi used to look like compared to what he looks like now. And it's just very weird and interesting. Obviously, it's not stuff that they've gone with, but it's fun to know this stuff because it's neat.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
And
it's
I
just
think,
neat.
and I would agree that it all deserves to exist.
All right.
Like, even if, when you look at movies, right, and you go on like Amazon Prime or whatever, and you can find super obscure, just terrible amateurish movies.
Yeah.
From all across time, right?
Atlantic Rim.
That are just, well, I mean, not even Atlantic Rim. like
Birdemic.
Like I'm talking
Birdemic too.
like Red Letter Media best of the worst type films, right? Where it's just horrible stuff. But even that stuff deserves to exist on some level or another.
Yeah, agreed.
Because it's art, it's something that somebody created, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, it's
so even these weird like tech demo experimental things, I feel like it's cool to keep these preserved because it's little tiny pieces of history. But history, you collect it, right? And it's this gigantic.
And you get
it's really
you
cool.
get super cool stories with it. That Toe Jam and Earl 3 thing with the Ku Klux Klan guy, like the developer behind it, they found the article based on it, and he basically stated that Sega was cool with it, and they basically were like, yeah, we actually like this message, like, and it's really neat, but good luck like actually getting it going, and they couldn't get it going, obviously, because they changed the final boss, but it was neat for a time that existed. And then you have other stuff like last year, again, it was Volition was basically like, yeah, we were working on a Saints Row PSP game and we lost it, but we found it again. Here you go, guys. Like, you could just have it. Like, then they put it online. And so, like, what if the guy, that game, This Is Vegas, that was like, it was like Grand Theft Auto, but set in like Las Vegas. It was going to be for 360
Really?
PS3. Yeah. Like, it was from Midway. It was like 60 or 70% done. I think you might be able to find an incomplete version and like play around with it online. Like there's just a lot of stuff that could be cool. And I would like to see in the coming days if they find anything else cool, like Luigi inside of a Dreamcast game.
I tell you what, the prototypes, canceled games that the list of things I would not do is so small. Do you remember the canceled Free Radical Battlefront, Star Wars Battlefront 3?
Battlefront 3.
Yes.
I would love to get my hands on that.
Someone probably has it.
They had cutscenes. They had the mission where you could take off from the ground and fly into the sky and then land in a Star Destroyer, land in its hangar. Like, so freaking cool.
Who was doing that?
I think it was Free Radical.
It was Free Radical that was doing it.
Yeah. Pretty sure.
Okay, yeah, because the guy who one of the higher ups of Factor 5. He lives here. He lives in Arizona.
Really?
Yeah, because he used to shop with my old. He shopped at the Tempe store, and he was chummy with the original manager over there. So
Okay. And Factor 5.
Factor 5, they made Rogue Squadron.
Oh.
They made all the Rogue Squadron games, Lair, and
Okay.
all that stuff. But I mean, they did make good games.
Oh, jeez. All right. Interesting. Okay. Do we have NPDs?
NPDs, yes. What? Stop laughing.
No.
I know what Tyler's thinking about. We're not doing the song.
It's because I said something wrong. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
I got IGDFA stuck in my head. Go ahead, Richard.
August 2021, consumer spending across video game hardware, content, and accessories grew 7% when compared to a year ago to an August record of $4.4 billion. Year-to-date consumer spending totaled $37.9 billion, a 13% increase when compared to the same period last year. Can you believe that? We're not even in a pandemic. Sorry. Whoops. We're a lot freer
than we were
now than we were last year with less money, but we're still spending more.
Yep.
Anyways, year-to-date hardware spending has increased 49% when compared to the same period in 2020, totaling $3.3 billion.
All right. Things have to slow down, right?
Oh, yeah.
Or is this just is games just going up because more people are buying consoles, more people are getting into gaming? Is this just
I'm sure they'll be
in 10 years is it going to be like a TV? Like in 10 years, every house has a TV, like it's like a fridge. Like every house just has a console. Like there a couple consoles.
I think the angle's gonna ease off a little bit, but I don't think it's gonna stop.
And you know
increasing.
What? The other. Sorry, not to destroy your segment. The other thing is when we were 8 years old, people in their 30s then probably weren't playing games as much now as people in their 30s are playing now, right?
No, not at all.
So we're all pretty close to our 30s and our 30s around there. Our whole entire generation plays games, and people that are 10 years younger than us, they'll definitely be playing games. Yeah. So that's probably part of it too.
I think there'll be lulls,
a simple answer
definitely.
to my to my existential horror question I just had. Continue, Richard. I'm sorry.
People keep getting made, so more people play games.
Right,
Crazy.
Exactly. What a novel concept. Nintendo Switch was the best-selling hardware platform in units during both August month and year-to-date, while PlayStation 5 leads both time periods in dollar sales. After 10 months in the market, PS5 remains the fastest-selling PlayStation platform in history. Madden 22. That's it. August video game hardware dollar sales gained 45% when compared to August 2020 to $329 million. This is the highest total achieved in August month since 2008. What you were talking about earlier, I was going to refer to this because this is... Never mind.
Well, I want to know.
No, just the comparison. It was a big jump gained compared to 2008, 12 years ago.
Okay,
so it's
gotcha.
like that's the
Gotcha.
the third highest month, August month total in history. Blah. Ghost of Tsushima last month finished at 110th place in the best-selling titles in July. Launch of Director's Cut for PlayStation 5 shot that up to number 2.
Wow. Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Last of Us Part 2 jumped to number 10 on the PlayStation best-selling titles charts after finishing 23rd last month. A title was promoted across several retail outlets this last month for a price cut. So,
okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
To the moon.
Yeah.
August marked the 6th consecutive month of U.S. mobile games spend in excess of $2 billion.
Good God.
Monthly spending in mobile games crossed the $2 billion mark just 3 times in 2020. Top earning mobile games in the U.S. for August included Candy Crush Saga, Garena Free Fire, I've never heard of that one, Roblox, Coin Master, really? Pokemon Go, Genshin Impact, Homescapes, Clash of Clans, and PUBG Mobile. I thank China for that one.
Yeah, right.
August 2021 spending on video game accessories was flat when compared to a year ago at $164 million. Year-to-date accessory sales reached $1.6 billion, gaining 12% when compared to a year ago. The Xbox Elite Series 2 controller was the best-selling accessory of August, while the PS5 DualSense remains the best-selling accessory of 2021. that is it for the MPDs this month.
Okay, cool.
Right on.
August is boring because it's Madden month, baby.
Thank you, Matt Piscatella.
Matt Piscatella from MPD
MPD
groups.
Eventually, Madden's just going to be a free-to-play
I was
game.
gonna say my favorite part of the NPDs was just Madden 22. That's it.
That's it. It's Madden month, baby.
It's going to be a free-to-play game, and I'm going to be really sad because I think I expressed, you know what, we'll talk about this another day. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at The Gaming Discourse. Go to our YouTube channel, YouTube/Gaming Discourse, where we post videos, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
See ya.